Hey everybody, my name is King Quad. Hope you're having an amazing day today, and today I'm here with a full tier list covering over every single fighter as it is right now. I'm going into this as a rank 303 Garnet main. I am someone who's played here since the first couple of days of the closed beta. I actually say maybe the second or third day of the closed beta, and up until this very point. I have a lot of fights under my belt. I fought a lot of different people, a lot of different characters. I fought every different character in this game, but I definitely think that some shine over the others, and I'm going off with the idea of who is a good self-sufficient fighter. Some of these people will be completely different. Someone who sucks in 1v1s could be at the very top of A or S tier even for 2v2s. But I'm not going off of 2v2s just because I feel like fighting games should always go off of the idea of who's a good fighter based off of a standalone fighter as opposed to being on a team. I don't think someone should be on a team to be a good fighter. With that being said, let's get started with this tier list. Starting off at S tier, I think that 100% without a doubt, easily, super easy, and as clear as day goes to Batman. I think Batman is by far the best fighter in this game, and it shows. He is the top of the meta. He is seen in, I would say, one of every two fights. Every 1v1 you're going to see, especially if you're a higher level fighter. As soon as you start getting to like the level 18, level 16 area with one fighter, you have that dedicated time. You're going to start seeing the super sweaty Batmans. Batman has a perfect moveset. His entire moveset does not struggle at all. He has a tether grapple and a tether recovery, which is his grappling hook. He can shoot it at any ledge and fly straight to it without a doubt. Uninterruptible majority of the time. It's super good. His entire moveset's good for combos. He's going to keep you up in the air with his stuff like his upward air, I believe, which is his cape hit. He has a lot of good hits. He has a lot of good combos. His battering is great because if it's not going to hit you one way, it's going to come back. And majority of the time, it's probably going to hit you coming back. One way or the other. He has a great move set. I think he could actually use a nerf in his power, and you could probably see some improvements. You know, he would probably be a more well-rounded fighter. As it stands right now, though, he's the very top of S tier, and it makes sense because he has the best moveset in the entire game. Continuing on with S tier, I'm going to give that to Shaggy. I think Shaggy, like I said, up there with Batman majority of the time, and I would say if you take my last 10 fights, I would say probably 8 of them are either Batman or Shaggy, and it's pretty evenly split between them two. They are super up there in the meta. Their moveset's pretty good. He is a great example of a bruiser character in any fighting game. And he is one of those people of, I use an example constantly of what bruisers should be in this game. Me being a Garnet main, I'm someone who thinks Garnet struggles in a lot of areas, and the main one being the hitboxes. If you're on the left side of Shaggy and he's uppercutting on the right side, completely facing the opposite direction, and you're on behind him, you're going to get hit with his hits majority of the time. It's because his hitboxes are so huge. Once he powers up and he gets his aura and he goes Super Saiyan essentially, he's gonna do more damage. He's gonna get more knockback. He's gonna have more power. Overall, it's gonna be a hard time to go against Shaggies if they're super sweaty. He's a good hybrid brawler. He has good down airs. He has good up airs. He has good area recovery. He has good everything essentially. The only reason he's not at the top of S tier is because it's Batman. Batman's, the god of this game. But other than that, Shaggy's pretty good. I like what they did with him. Very similar to Batman. I think they could maybe even nerf him a little bit, and he would still be up there just because he deals enough damage as it is. He's not the fastest, unlike Batman. Batman's the fastest. You cannot argue otherwise. But Shaggy is still good in his regard that he's a fist-to-fist fighter. He is a brawler. He is a hybrid brawler, and it's just so incredibly overpowered. Pretty good. Continuing on, ending off S tier, I'm going to have to give that to Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is a good example of a combo, super beginner-friendly fighter in this game. I actually started off as a Harley Quinn main, and then I quickly transitioned to Garnet just because I love Garnet. But Harley Quinn, I love Harley Quinn. I've always liked her in every single thing that she's been in. I was a Harley Quinn main in Injustice even, and she's just always been really cool to me. I think her design's really good. The idea of what they did with her voice actor, I mean, she has some of the best lines in the game, I would say. I think that her design overall, everything about her is just super good. I love what they did with her moveset. I think her combos are really good. They flow together. They are super easy. I guarantee you, if you have her unlocked, take her into the labs. I promise you, If you're spamming square or whatever the button is on your console, I promise you, you'll get at least a 6 to 8 hit combo just spamming it in one direction. She is so incredibly easy to spam and get combos off with. And it's not really spam because it's just combos. That's just how she is. She's super beginner friendly. Highly recommend it if you are new to this game, you don't know where to start. I would always suggest Harley Quinn just to see where she goes with that, right? She has good projectiles. She has a bomb that can latch onto people. She has a recovery reset, very similar to someone like Solid Snake in Metal Gear from Smash Bros. And I just think that she's great, right? She's very similar to him. She has the C4 bomb that can attach onto someone. And overall, she's just a good fighter. The only thing holding her back, and I went over this in yesterday's live stream, is just her power. I think if her power were to increase, she got more damage dealt, maybe even some more knockback in her bombs and stuff like that. Maybe even her balloon jack-in-the-box that she puts on the ground, and if someone steps over it, they get tossed in the air. It's good for combo starting, but I think if it had even more knockback to it, maybe even twice the knockback, I think it would be great for knocking people off, ledge guarding, and overall she'd be a more viable character. As it stands right now, though, she lacks in those couple of areas, so with that being said, I will give her the bottom of S tier. At the top of A tier, I'm going to give that to Bugs Bunny. He's a super capable fighter. He has good damage dealt. He has a great wide range of abilities. His recovery is pretty good with his helicopter ears. I would reckon even probably top 3 recoveries in the game. He's super good. He really is. His rocket that takes up 1/4 of the screen every single time. His safe that he'll toss onto the ground that'll deal damage, very similar to Kirby's down B. But even more than that, he'll have the ability to drop kick it in your direction, knock you back, deal a lot of damage, and get super close with his floaty abilities, right? He's a very floaty character. Someone like Ness in Smash Bros, who you can jump up and they'll float across the screen, as opposed to someone who's a human who will just jump and just jump again, and that's literally it. He'll float across the screen. His drop kick ability that he does is super good. His propeller ears are super good for recovery. It's good for combo ending. I've seen people 30% kill with Bugs Bunny just because of his helicopter ears at the top or the sides of the screen. He is a great combo character. He's great. I don't really think they need adjustments to him. I literally think it just comes down to the only reason he's not S tier is because there's people that are better than him in regards. Other than that, though, he's pretty good. I don't think he needs any reworks. I don't think he needs any adjustments. And he deserves to be a top of A tier or even bottom of S tier. Continuing off with A tier, I'm going to give it to Finn the Human just because he's a sword fighter. He's pretty good at horizontal fighting, and I'd say he's probably the best horizontal fighter we have in the game. Other than the S tier fighters where it's literally just dominant in one way or another, Harley Quinn is considered a horizontal fighter in my opinion, but Finn is just a good sword fighter, right? He has good range with his sword. A lot of his dashing moves, like when he's sprinting with his sword out, and the overhead strike, or even the slap hit that he does, the high five move that he does. His backpack recovery move is also great for combo ending. It does a lot of damage. You get, I think, 4 hits off, and it does about 20 to 30% damage every single time. Very given, he just does a lot of damage. He's a great fighter. He really is. I think the main thing that really holds him back is literally just the fact that they designed to make him a horizontal fighter. I don't really care for what they did with that, what they made a couple people where it has one character can be super great left to right on the ground horizontal fighting, but won't be good in the air up and down, vertical fighting. Some people are dedicated vertical, some people are dedicated horizontal, and others are dedicated hybrid, to where they overall will just shine in any regard, up and down, left and right, on the ground, or up in the air. Finn being a horizontal fighter, he's pretty good. Him being one of 3 sword fighters in this game, I definitely think that he does good with recoveries. He does good with combos. I think he's a little slow for what he should be. I think if they made him faster, he would definitely be a lot better. He would be more meta breaking, but since he's not, he's just mid A tier. At the bottom of A tier, I'm going to give it to Tom and Jerry. I feel like that's probably going to be a surprising pick for a lot of people, but I feel like he's a good idea, or I guess they are a good idea of what this game should really be. Goofy fighters, unintentional fighting, I think is hilarious for their moveset. A lot of the time, Tom is trying to hit Jerry, or Jerry's trying to defend against Tom, and it'll accidentally hit the opponent. Similar to Iron Giant, where a lot of their moveset, they're not people who are super aggressive to other people, but a lot of their clumsiness comes into the idea it's gonna damage other people, or it's gonna, you know, affect other people just because of how clumsy they are. And I love that idea. I think that's great. I feel like it fits into the overall cartoony vibe of this game. I think it's great for what they did with him. I just feel like Jerry's not included enough. And I think their main inspiration comes from in Super Smash Bros. The Ice Climbers. It's essentially the same exact idea, where it's one player who controls two different fighters and they fight with each other. But I just think that they kind of executed it a little poorly, just because Jerry doesn't play enough of a role. I feel like if they were to include him in, I'd say maybe 90% of his moveset, I think that's how it should be. Where his entire moveset should consist of him, one way or another, interacting with Jerry. I think that would make him a good standalone fighter. And of course, obviously, I think that they don't want to do that just because if Jerry dies, then Tom's going to be pretty useless. But I think that would be good, just to give that trade-off, you know? Like, you have to defend Jerry because that's part of your moveset. And that should be how it is, because that's what it is, you know? That's 50% of who that fighter is. If it's not Tom, it's Jerry. And it makes sense to keep Tom always there, but Jerry not, because, you know, that's their way of kind of keeping him balanced. But with that trade-off, since you do have to defend with Jerry, I think it should be to where Tom has a lot more power. He has a lot more, you know, tankiness, and Jerry's more of that get in there, can be across the map juggling type of fighter. That being done, I think that's where it stands as A tier. At the top of B tier, I'm going to give that to Jake the dog. I initially had him closer to mid B tier, but I'm going to give him to the top of B tier, honestly. I think that he's a pretty good fighter for what he is now. I think he's just pretty lackluster, but they made him a little more tanky as opposed to a, you know, fast-paced fighter, and I'm fine with that. I really am. I love what they did, making him very similar to Kirby, who's someone who's going to be able to eat their opponents, someone who's going to be able to down special and just full-on slam onto someone. The horse move's pretty cool too, but the main thing that I think is super good with him is his recovery. It is so incredibly crazy to use. Anyone who uses his recovery, his hitbox when he's using his recovery, which is his long stretchy body Jake move, I would say 80% of his body is untouchable. The top 20% of his body, which is like the top of his neck to his head, that's the only part you're going to be able to hit. And if you don't have projectiles that are controllable, like, I think the only reason I'm able to go against Jake's pretty good with Garnet is because her rocket fist, you can control it. You can 360 move anywhere with it. But other projectiles, things like, I don't know, who else has projectiles? Tom and Jerry with their tennis balls, or even someone like Shaggy with the sandwiches. If you're not going to be able to control it, you're probably not going to be able to hit him. His recovery is the best in the game, by far. The only person that you can make the argument is better is Batman's recovery, just because it's so incredibly overpowered. And I guess, you know, yeah, it is. It really is. It's a good grappling move. But his stretchy body, it's a great, and I am talking about top 3 recoveries in this game. It is super good. I think probably these 3, funny enough, Batman, Bugs Bunny, and Jake are all gonna have the best recoveries in the game. That's why he's top of B tier. You know, he has a great recovery. His moves are overall well-rounded. I think he's pretty slow. And I think with that trade-off, if they don't want to make him faster, then they should make him a little more tankier, reduce damage. But other than that, he's a good fighter, top of B tier in my opinion. Continuing on, I'm gonna give it to Arya Stark at mid, you know, high mid B tier. She's pretty good. She's a good sword fighter. She is one of 3 sword fighters in this game. And with that being said, you know, her moves are pretty boring. Now, the next person that I'm going to go after Arya, very similar. Both of these two are very boring characters. They are just pretty lackluster. And for what she is, I had to consult, you know, Game of Thrones enthusiologist to actually ask, you know, does she have powers? What's cool about her? She actually does have powers. She has the face stealing thing, which they implemented into the game, which I think is one of the most creative and one of the best, most well-rounded. Probably the best thing in her kit is the fact that she could steal other people's moves. It's super cool. It's super creative. They included that from the show, and I just think that that's actually a good start for Arya. After that, though, she is essentially just upward slash with the sword, sideways slash with the sword, bottom spike with the sword, slash up, down, left, right with the sword, sword fighter. And I know a lot of people are probably going to say, oh, you know, she's a sword fighter. She's going to fight with the sword, obviously. And yes, obviously she is. But I highly recommend, if you want to learn more about sword fighters in fighting games, look no further than any of the 30 sword fighters that they have in Super Smash Bros. In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, especially, which is the most recent one that came out, there is a lot of sword fighters. It's a very highly known, well-known joke in the Smash Bros. Community that they love including, you know, so many different sword fighters. They have all the Fire Emblem characters that are the more fast-paced, or even the casters like Robin, or they have these slower-paced people like the dude from Xenoblade, I always forget his name, and people like Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy in Smash Bros, right? They are great examples of how diverse people with similar movesets can be. They all do have swords at the end of the day, but some of them will play completely different than the other sword fighters, and I love that idea. I love that they do that. With that being said, I feel like she should be a more fast-paced character. I feel like her moveset where she has it's like a marked blade, that's what I always call it. She leaves a red blade on the ground, and if you stepped on it, you get marked for death, and she'll fly across a map. She can fully recover with that. She'll fly to you and strike you. I feel like that should be like her side B. I feel like she should have a move where she'll fly across a map, quickly strike, and do like a upward knock. I think that would make her a super viable character. She would be one of the best, and she has the potential to be really good, which is why she's not the bottom of the B tier and no lower than that. But with that being said, she struggles in the regard that her abilities just need more flashiness. She needs something else, and I know that she's not going to be the only fighter from Game of Thrones in this game. I think that they mentioned the Mountain, or whatever his name is probably going to be in here, and Daenerys Targaryen is going to be making an appearance in here as well. Jon Snow is even rumored to be coming out in this game later on as the game releases. But she's not going to be the only Game of Thrones fighter, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine that they're probably going to include some of those moves in those other people. I think Jon Snow could be a good example of a sword fighter, but with that being said, Arya just kind of struggles. Her moveset's not really there. I mean, she has her marked Blade of Death. She has that good recovery that comes with it. But other than that, I mean, her face stealer is the only really thing that goes for her. I feel like she could use a good upward strike recovery move. Overall, you would see some improvements with her. And it's going to leave it for her. Next off, B tier, Superman. Superman is a good idea of someone whose idea is there. The execution's just not the best. Don't get me wrong, he's a good fighter. He has that one combo where he will hit you like 10 times in a row and send you flying at the end, which is a pretty good start. It's pretty similar to Garnet, except it's just dragged out way more dramatically, and it is a lot better. He has a good recovery move. When it comes to the flying, it's not the best because it is super slow paced, but it also comes off with a grab. So if you get grabbed by it, you cannot interrupt it, you cannot dodge out of it, you cannot move away from it, you will get grabbed. You will get dragged across and you will get thrown. It is a super good knockback grab move. It is probably the best command grab in the game. He has the Frost Breath that I think you have to stack it 16 times, which is ridiculous. But if you get that off, you know, you will be able to freeze someone and they'll be super vulnerable to any attack. I think his Frost Breath is pretty good. It could use improvements, so I think the stack should be significantly reduced. And I think one of the best changes I could implement to Superman, literally just make him faster. I think his downward laser beam attack, when he's up in the air and he'll do the laser beam, and it'll create a line of effect where it'll damage you, but it'll also have this second explosion, half of that move, to where it'll knock someone up in the air. It's a great start. I just think he's super slow, and I always think that if someone's going to be slower in a fighting game, they should be more tanky, and if they're not going to be as tanky, they should be a little quicker. I think that trade-off should always come. The less tanky someone is, the quicker they should be. And if they are super tanky, they should never be super fast, but super tanky as well. That's just overpowered. I think he's at the end of being someone who should be tanky. I mean, one of his main abilities is literally about his Kryptonian skin, where it is reduced, I think, 5 or 10% damage stackable. So it's a great start. He should just be more tanky or more quicker, depending on what route they want to go with him. That being said, bottom of B tier, he's not the worst, but he's not the best. Finally, for the end of B tier, I'm going to give it to Velma, surprisingly. Now, I know a lot of people don't use Velma. I know she's one of the most unpopular fighters in this game. But with that trade-off comes the fact that she's actually pretty good with a lot of her abilities. Her main combos include her speeches, her text boxes, where she'll say stuff like jinkies, or the exclamation one where no one knows what she's saying. She'll toss people up in the air. I've gone against some pretty good Velmas. Actually, where like I've lost against Velmas very early on, just because they're good. They're good fighters with her. With that being said, however, I just feel like she's pretty boring. I feel like people don't play her just because she's boring. I feel like if she had more flashy moves, like maybe she, brings out one of the monsters from Scooby Doo, or maybe she has a teleport move where she, the Scooby Doo meme where they run through one door and they come out from the complete opposite side of the house. She should have a move like that. Maybe she could teleport and it'll deal damage if they're in front of the door, or a door slam on someone, something like that. A great move that she would it would overall make her from bottom of B tier probably to like mid A tier. But as it stands right now with her moveset, it's pretty boring. People just don't play her because she is boring. I don't think her problem is her power or her combos or anything. It's literally just some of her basic moves should be more flashy. That being said, let's go to C tier. And the very top of C tier is my girl Garnet. I love Garnet. I became a Garnet main very early on, and I was pretty biased because I went to Harley Quinn, and I love Harley Quinn. I've always liked her for the first like 10 years of my life. But Garnet just took my breath away. Her design is flawless, and she is a great example of the fact that just because someone is 2D in their base material does not mean that they can't be 3D. They did a great job with making her design 3D. I was scared because in the 2D animation, her lips are kind of, I don't know, very specific. They come from Sapphire, which is half of her fusion, which it makes sense. I feel like I love how they did that. But the fact that they were able to transition her design, including her lips, over to 3D and have her just look flawless is so incredibly amazing to me. I love how they did that. Her design is not the problem. I think they did a great job with that. Her fighting style makes sense. Obviously, she uses those as her weapons in the show. Her summonable fist gauntlets. Her fighting style, a lot of the moves are actually in the show. I started binge watching Steven Universe because of Garnet in this game, and I think it's one of the best shows I've ever watched. She's a great fighter. Aside from her appearances, her fighting style is good. Her moves are good. She has 2 projectiles, albeit they are both on cooldown majority of the time. They have that trade-off of if you're not using that, you'll actually get access to 2 of her abilities. If you get rid of her Rocket Fist, you'll get access to her shoulder check in cooldown. And if you get rid of her Star Shot, which is her finger shot, then you'll get access to the upward clap move, which is probably the best for knockback. Super good. I've gone multiple guides over how you can become a better Garnet. I highly recommend looking that up. And I have some combos where I get, I think, 56% combos with her, beginning to end, uninterruptible. It's super good. She has a great start, and she has the potential to be the best bruiser in this game. She should be. The main thing holding her back, and I've gone over this many times and I will continue to go over it, is her range of attack. Her attack hitboxes are so poorly made. Anytime that you're hitting with her fists, if it looks like it's connecting, it probably won't connect. If the very front pixels of her gauntlet are touching your opponent, it's not going to hit. And there's been so many times where I've been trying to do upward hits or downward hits, side, left, and right hits, and they just won't connect. And it looks like it's supposed to connect. Shaggy is a good example of a bruiser who, they fight with their fist. They could be looking one way, but they'll hit you if you're on the opposite direction of their body. A good wide range of a bruiser. And that's what Garnet really should be. She has a good potential to be... Honestly, I think she should be a hybrid bruiser after that change. They just need to increase her hitboxes. It is so poorly designed. They need to make it more prevalent. If they did that, I would make the argument that she's probably A tier or even... No, I'd say probably A tier. But... that's the main thing holding her back. It's just her hitboxes. Her hitboxes are poorly made. They need to be significantly increased. I would say double it, maybe even triple it, which is crazy to say, but you just gotta remember, her hitboxes are so low. Her combos, her juggling will fall off early if you're not directly on your person, just because, her hitboxes are just so low. They need to be bigger. They need to be better. And if they make that improvement, that one improvement alone, I guarantee you, she'll be high A tier or maybe even bottom of S tier. As it stands right now, That is a huge drawback. It holds her back so much. She's going to be C tier. Continuing on with C tier, my next choice is going to be Wonder Woman. She's a good example of another sword fighter as well. These three are sword fighters as it stands. But the main problem with her is just the fact that a lot of her abilities don't really do much. She is meant to be more of a beginner-friendly person. Obviously, she's in the tutorial along with Raindog, which makes sense that she's going to be a beginner-friendly, not the best fighter, right? But I think they should do what they did with someone like Batman, to where, or even Harley Quinn. It's easy to combo with, but it has a good idea of what combos should be, what her playstyle should be. Her shield is great for obviously shielding, but it's even more important for knockback. She has a lot of good different moves. I think that they should model her more closer to like Link from Smash Bros, to where a lot of her sword-based attacks are super good to fight with. Her lasso of truth should be a tether grapple, and I think that that would be the best change that they could do. It is a tether grapple as it stands. You can hook someone with it and throw them up in the air or draw them closer to you or whatever it may be. But I think that her lasso of truth should be able to grab onto any ledge and automatically pull up to the ledge and recover with it. I think that that one change alone, that very small change, you wouldn't even have to change a moveset. It's literally just adding on to it. That one small change would move her to high B tier, low A tier. Just because that potential is there. She has a good moveset. She's interesting. She has a good idea of what her ideas could be. Her new 52 gear is great. I mean, she looks so good. I just think that as it stands right now, her lasso should have more, used to it. That's probably what she's most well known for. Other than her gauntlets, other than her tiara or her crown, I guess. The main thing is her lasso of truth. That's what she's known for. It should have a bigger role in her kit. Continuing on, the bottom of C tier, Raindog, surprisingly. Probably the most surprising pick I have in this entire tier list. It probably will stand as it. She is I guess it. I don't know if it's a he or she. I would assume it's a he because I think it has a mustache, but I'm just going to say it or they. Raindog. Pretty alright in 2v2s. Raindog's actually pretty good in 2v2s. They are a support character. It's heavily advertised that Raindog is meant for support. And in 2v2s, Raindog is pretty good. Very tanky build character. One of the bigger, I'd say probably the second biggest character in this game when it comes to size. A lot of influence in area. Super good for that. They have the fireball projectile, which is pretty good. But without that existing and without being on cooldown, Raindog struggles a lot. Significantly, highly struggles in 1v1s. I have seen maybe one or two Raindogs in 1v1s. And in 2v2s, like I said, pretty good. And if this was a 2v2 tier list, probably be at the top of A tier. But with that being said, cannot stand alone by themselves. Raindog struggles in every regard. If they made Raindog closer to a self-alone, self-sustaining fighter, they have the potential to be very good. I would say that their moveset's not even like the biggest drawback. Although I think that their one tether move where they can latch onto someone and help your teammate recover, that should come with the drawback of having like a tether grapple or a tether recover. Just because if you're standing alone in a 1v1 scenario, you're not going to have that much of a good time. Raindog has a potential to be good, but as it stands right now, not the best. Moving on in D tier, and I think that's entire tier, is essentially just people who need overall completely different reworks, and 90% of their entire moveset should be changed. Starting off, Iron Giant. I know a lot of people hate Iron Giant. It's a big meme right now. I'd say probably the most hated fighter in this entire game is Iron Giant. He is pretty powerful. He is the most tanky fighter in this game. He is the biggest fighter in this game. I believe he can stand between two different tiers. So if you're standing on the ledge and he's on the ground, you can hit through the ledge and start comboing and completely be fine with it. His sideways blast hit is super crazy. When he gets into his attack mode with the guns that pop off out of his hands, super good. His shield move is completely unblockable and unavoidable. It's uninterruptible. It's so crazy. He has one of the most overpowered movesets. And with that being said, as good as he is, I just feel like his moveset doesn't belong in this game. I feel like the way that they designed him shouldn't be how it is in this game, right? I feel like they should change him a lot. They should make him a little smaller and a little quicker, less tanky, definitely. just because as it stands right now, he's essentially just a tank. I guess the big drawback that comes with that, right, is the hitbox difference, right? Obviously, how big his hitbox is, it's easy. Like, if you're someone like Garnet, who's easy to break armor and get combos in, it's super easy to combo with. Probably the second easiest person to go against with Garnet. And with that drawback, like I said, it's super easy to go against. I just feel like his moveset, they didn't really know what to do with it. I feel like a lot of his moveset should be changed, should be reworked. He should be a smaller size, maybe a little quicker. I just feel like a lot of his moveset needs to be rearranged. Continuing on, Tasmanian Devil is mid D tier. Taz had one thing going for him, which was his Taz Tornado. I feel like in the closed beta, they wanted that to make a big deal, just because obviously, you know, Tasmanian Devil, that's his main thing. In the show, that's his main gimmick, is his Tasmanian Tornado. He'll do his tornado, he'll fly around with it. He's a crazy animal, unpredictable, super crazy. They did a good job with encapsulating that into his design, into his character, into his tornado. However, when the open beta released, everyone and their moms were saying, come on, Taz's tornado needs to be nerfed. They listened, as they should. Community reception is the biggest thing for this game, with any fighting game, so they nerfed his tornado. It's on cooldown now with a significant increase. It's not as good, it doesn't deal as much knockback, as much damage, which is a good change. But that comes with the big risk that without his tornado, he has nothing going for him. He has the one move where he'll get you into like a scuffle where the big white cloud will come in and you'll see like the limbs popping out of it. It's literally on the logo of the game, on the Multiversus logo. That's the big white cloud, is Taz's scuffle that he has. It makes sense that it's part of his moveset. Other than that, his bite move sucks. His hits suck. His combos don't exist. His recovery is not there. His tornado should be a increased up and down movement, as it's only left and right as it stands right now. I get that he's a horizontal fighter. He should be up and down though. He should be a hybrid, honestly. He really should. I think they need to rework his entire moveset. Probably the second most in this tier list, and obviously number one in the second. They need to increase it. They need to change it a lot. They need to change the majority of his moveset. Could be really good. It's not right now. It should be. And finally, the last person that needs to be changed, Steven Universe. I have not seen any 1v1 Steven Universe mains at all. He needs to be changed in every regard. His moveset is not good at all. He has a shield. He has his bubble that he casts, which I'm happy they put it in because it's a big part of his character. That's the one thing in the show in the first 2 seasons that he's actually able to control, is his bubble. So I'm happy they did that. I've noticed a lot of people are actually able to ledge guard with it. So if someone's trying to recover, you just bubble, and it's super hard to go against because it's hard to recover around. But if you can recover around that, he has nothing else. Unlike Taz, where he has at least 2 or 3 abilities, he doesn't have anything. He has his bubble, and that's it. His shield doesn't work. His watermelon clones should be way more powerful, way more aggressive than they are. They should have a mind of their own where it's super aggro and it's easy to combo with. He should be good. Looking at the fact that someone from his show is better than the titular show that he's from, it's called Steven Universe. He's from Steven Universe. His name is Steven Universe. He should be a better fighter. He should be at least, very minimum, B tier. His cultural influence, without a doubt, is one of the biggest in this entire tier list. He is one of the most well-known characters. And with that being said, he just needs an overall increase into his power. Everything about him. His entire moveset. You can keep the clones. You can keep his bubble. Implement his shield to have more knockback. It should be similar to Wonder Woman's shield, in my opinion. It needs a huge, significant, completely different rework. And with that being said, y'all, we're going to wrap it up here for today. One more thing, of course, obviously the 17th and final character as of right now being LeBron James. I definitely think he's probably mid to low A tier. I don't think he's a super groundbreaking character. I haven't seen many people like really try to get, you know, the best with him. I've seen a lot of people main him, and it's good. He's pretty well received overall. He has a good move set. I feel like he's probably not quick enough, or maybe he's not more like powerful enough, but he's pretty good. He is pretty good. He has a good wide range of what a bruiser could be, obviously. A lot of his slam dunks are super creative, super cool that they included a lot of his basketball moves in there. But more importantly, they do a lot of good wide range damage as a fighting game. They do translate over pretty well into the fighting game area. And overall, I think if they either adjusted just his speed or his power just a little bit, then he would probably be top of A tier, or no, I'd say maybe top A tier. I think he's kind of just bound to be A tier at this point. The only thing is if they significantly increase either his power or his speed, he'll be S tier. But I think realistically speaking, he'll probably be A tier. And that's it. Like I said, y'all, if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to let me know in the comments below, as well as any questions, comments, concerns, additions, disagreements, anything that you may have. Leave them in the comments below. I'll be more happy to interact with y'all. This is a open-ended discussion, so I would love to hear your guys' input. I highly encourage it. Even if you guys disagree, I'd love to hear you out. And we can have some good discussions, y'all. Let me know how you guys feel about this and how you guys feel like I did with the tier list. This is my first tier list ever that I've ever done, so pretty eye-opening. It was pretty good, and until next time, y'all have a great day. Stay safe, take care, peace, audio. Subscribe if you're new to join the Aztec Empire. And until next time, have a great day, y'all. Until next time, have an amazing day.